So this is our first little crafty project, and it's called Hey Ghoul, and it's a shaker. It has little hearts and beads inside of it, and it shakes up with the little zombies, with the boy who has a crush on the girl with her dog.
Alright, so the fundamental pieces you need to make any sort of shaker card are as follows. You will need some paper. This is the background paper that I used. It's sort of an apocalyptic off brown color, which I think is so romantic and zombie-like. And this is the purple color that I used for the front of the zombie card, which is the border. You want it to be a little bit heavy, a little bit like a cardstock. You don't just want a basic printer paper. The next thing that you will need for every shaker card is some sort of acetate. Now, acetate is just this clear film. It comes in a lot of packaging. You can buy it individually as well. But this is what provides the screen or the cover to let you see the shaker and the picture inside. And you just save it from all your packaging and cut it down to the size you need. You'll also need some sort of dimensional adhesive. This is a 3M dimensional adhesive. It's actually used for mounting pictures to the wall. But you can also use dimensional squares that are pre-cut and just line them up around the edge of your project. This you can get anywhere. You can get this huge roll, which I've used a lot of online, or you can get smaller rolls. I've seen it at Rite Aid or Staples, on Amazon, anywhere really. You need some sort of double-sided adhesive or glue to stick your acetate to your border and to stick your little pictures inside of your frame if you are using cutout pictures. For mine, I use these little zombie stamps because I can't draw. Like I said, I am a crafter, I am not an artist. So I have these little zombie friends stamps and their little dog. Stamp them out, color them in, cut out around the edge of them. And I use those to stick into my card for the decoration. And in order to get the background I did, I used this rubber stamp, which is just a star stamp. I used some of this Versamark ink and embossing powder. Versamark ink is just a sticky ink, and embossing powder is just this powder that sticks to the ink and you melt it, and it gives you a really cool shiny raised look. And with that, you want to have something, and this is anti-static powder specifically for this. It has this super fancy brush on it. Ooh. But you can also use baby powder or cornstarch, anything else like that. It just makes it so it doesn't stick where you don't want it to. Some other convenient things to have are an X-Acto knife, a ruler, a decent pair of scissors, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and shaker material. So you can put anything into your shaker cards. You could put little seeds or really whatever you want. I use some little hearts, little heart sequins. I used some of these little brownish blackish sequins. They reminded me of dried blood, and seeing as how I think gothic things are cool, I love that. So romantic. And these little seed beads, which you can't really tell, but they're clear with a black center, and to me they look like eyeballs. And I can't think of anything more romantic than eyeballs in a zombie love card, so I used these ones. Okay, for this next part we're going to be cutting out the frame here. Now you can see I've made this border around it just with pencil, and it's a little more than a 1/4 inch. And in addition, I'm also going to add a little black line where this needs to, or a little black dot where this needs to stop, because when I'm cutting it with the X-Acto knife, it's kind of hard to see where exactly to stop. So I'm just going to hit all the corners with this, and I'm going to cut it with this X-Acto knife and this Super cool We Are Memory Keepers magnetic cutting board. But you definitely don't need this. You can use any sort of cutting board or even just magazines to cut against and a ruler. But here I can see my black dot and stop there. Turn it. I myself have used dies, rectangular dies to cut this, and that's really helpful if you have those. But if you don't have those, this is just as good, just as easy. Just takes an extra second. Make sure you get all those corners. Now, because this still has the pencil lines, I'm going to take and turn this over when I put it on top of my other piece. This is also when I'm going to go ahead and get my acetate cut. And all I'm going to do to measure my acetate, it's super scientific, really fancy method. No, it's really just not. You just take and try to find, you know, this one would fit, but it's a little tight. I think we could still work with it here because see, it's got a real small narrow margin, but I think it'll be good. And now I'm just gonna do a pretend cut and then cut that out just to score it along there. And again, making sure to add it to the tape or to the pencil mark side. This tape that I'm using, it's called Suquang tape or Be Creative tape. I get it on Amazon in bulk because I use it so much. And it's really heavy duty stickiness and super easy to use because it just tears right off. So you just go ahead, put it around the edge and just sort of pull it off. And then go around the inside of this border. And as I go, I do peel the backing in case one piece overlaps. Okay. Just go around the edge, getting as close to the, because we have such a narrow margin on this card, I'm going as close to the edge as I can so that we do make sure to catch the adhesive. Oh, if it pulls up, just rub it down a little harder. There we go. And this side. And I overlap the edges just a little bit to make sure that it does adhere the whole way through to the acetate. And finally, this piece here. There we go. Now we take our piece of acetate that we cut and just lay it over the top, making sure that we get all of these edges. There we go. And you have a little extra tape around, but that doesn't matter because the double-sided tape from later is also going to go right over this. So now we have our border and our background. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and erase our background lines if I had a pencil, because they're gonna stick. I mean, you're gonna be able to see pretty roughly. And I'm just gonna keep the bottom line to know where my little people are gonna be. And next I'm gonna take and I'm gonna do some of that embossing. I'm gonna use this tool and it just sort of puffs out a little bit of this powder. Again, you could just use some cornstarch, go over it. This just makes it so that the embossing powder doesn't stick anywhere you don't want it to. Now this is the stamp that I'm using. It's a rubber block stamp with just stars on it. I thought how appropriate, but to have stars in the background with our zombies, because zombies only come out at night, right? Maybe not. Just go ahead and put this right on our background. Doesn't matter if it goes over the border. And this is just Versamark ink, which is essentially sticky ink. Clear sticky ink. It makes a watermark. You can see it there. And then I'm taking a coffee filter. And this is the embossing powder that I talked about. Silver. And it's just going to stick to the sticky part. And sort of flick it back in here. And all embossing powder is teeny tiny plastic little powders. So when you hit it with the heat tool, which you gotta get nice and hot first, and this is not the same as a hairdryer, so please don't try that. But when you hit it with the embossing tool, it melts the teeny tiny little balls of plastic. And I'm gonna show that to you, even though it's a little loud, because it's so cool when it goes. Heating it up. See, there it goes. Cool down here, and then making sure it's nice and cool, you just hit your finger over the top of it again and it'll get rid of all that extra powder. And now you're just left with this raised effect of these really cool looking silver stars. Great. Now it's time to color in our little zombie friends. I've already pre-stamped these zombies onto a piece of heavy-duty white smooth cardstock, and I used Memento ink because I am coloring them with Copic markers. So this Memento ink is perfect because it doesn't move when you color it with the alcohol markers, which is all Copics are, is alcohol markers. So when you stamp in the Memento, you can color it with the Copic alcohol markers and the little black part won't smear. Okay, so I have my little people colored in here, and I've put some double-sided tape on the back of them. And now, because I have that line that I left on there, I can see where I want to position them. We're just going to stick her right here, and she's going to stick up a little, but that's fine. And here's her dog, and here is the boy zombie, and I think he loves her, and he thinks she's sweet. So I'm going to put him right here. Now, I totally did not almost cut his foot off, actually, maybe a little bit higher. But everybody knows that girls mature and grow faster, so she's a little taller than he is. Now here's the only part where the technical piece really comes into play. This is where we're adding the dimensional adhesive all around this edge. And obviously, I've lost it. My cat just comes around and eats things. Now I found the easiest way to do this is just to roll it out. The first piece doesn't really matter. The only thing you want to keep in mind is you don't want to go over the edge. So just cut here. Now, just line it up with the edge of the paper on the outside. There we go. And see, it doesn't go all the way to this edge, and it doesn't go all the way to this edge, and that doesn't matter. Now do the same thing around the top. I'm gonna go under her hairs a little bit. She has some big hair, which I really appreciate. And then this is where you just sort of have to fill it in. So the way that I do it is I stick this piece right here to this side here. I just stick it in there. and I make it as straight as I can, and then I take my scissors and I line it up with the inside of the other piece here, and I just cut down. And hopefully it'll fit right in here, but this one I cut at a little bit of an angle. That happens when you're trying to take a picture and do it at the same time. Now we're going to go right again up to the edge of the paper. Now there's a little bit of a gap right here, but that's okay because it touches right here. Let's try that again on this side. I'm going to cut this in to be a little bit squarer. Stick it in, line it up. There we go. That one went in a little bit better. And then pull all of these pieces off. Now, this is going to determine how deep your piece is. I might actually have to cut off her hairs, but I'll stick them right in there. Okay. And however many pieces of this dimensional adhesive you put on determines the depth of your card. So I'm actually going to do this again. I'm going to put 2 layers of pieces off. There we go. Now we're going to add our beads. We're going to add some of these eyeball looking beads. I like these because they make a good sound. A good clicking sound. I'm going to add some of these sequins. And finally, some of these heart ones. Went a little overboard on the hearts on the first time. Just make sure nothing is sticking to this piece on the outside here. And then we're going to take this piece that we had made ahead of time, this border, and we're just going to make sure we don't have anything else sticking to it. And just line it right up over the top. Excuse my head. And then just push this down as hard as you can. Okay. Now you have your very own, if I can get it into focus, very own shaker card. I mean, who doesn't love a shaker card? Okay. The final piece that I do with this is to take a piece of washi tape, or any, you don't have to, this is completely an optional piece. But I just take a long piece of washi tape and I start on the bottom and I sort of line it up halfway through and just go around the edge, keeping it roughly in the middle. And the cool thing about washi tape is that it is very forgiving. So even if you're not very particular, you're not very good at it, it will let you pick it up, unstick it, and restick it as many times as you need to. See, it's even stuck right here all to itself, and I can still pull it all apart and just go right around the edge here. Okay, get to the end. I'm going to cut it just for neatness. I do make sure that the ends sort of match up right here. Sorry, I keep going off the screen. Match up right here. And then you just go around the edges and push it around. And I just like the way that it gives a little bit more of a clean edge. You've got this clean edge instead of the open. So I'm just going to go around here. And so you have a nice framed, just push it down, spend some time doing that. And on this one, I was thinking of those memes that say, "Hey girl," but we're working with zombies. So in this one, I just wrote, "Hey Ghoul," because puns are funny. I don't care what you say. Hey Ghoul. And that is the finished shaker.